Hey everybody, and welcome on back to Minecraft. Today we are back here in the single player survival world where we have been doing a heck of a lot of work here in the city. Today we are going to be continuing the city by working on the bank build up there on the hilltop that we've been planning out and touching base on. But first things first, I want to show y'all a little bit about what we were doing in the last episode. Last episode, we did come through here and build up a lot of the sewers underneath the city, which was really fun to work on. I had so much fun down there. Seems like a lot of you all enjoyed that one too. So if you missed that, be sure to go check it out. We added a bunch of life down here with a bunch of wet, damp, dark areas that are all basically mob proof throughout this entire section, which means that we can really spend a lot of time playing with the atmosphere down here. Instead of having to worry about lighting the entire area up for mob spawns, we can have a lot of fun with this and then have a lot of dark, creepy areas and just really having so much fun with that. And I'm so very excited to continue this project. But first things first, I wanted to give you all a quick update for the texture pack. I have made quite a few changes. We'll be visiting those here in a quick sec. They're going to be posted live on the Patreon page. It's not going to be in a full release download yet because I'm still working on a few things, but let's go check them out first. Over in the super flat world, we have the first one here is the spruce leaves. They have been updated slightly. The overlay textures are the fluffy bushy leaves are a little bit angular down towards the bottom now, and there's a gradient to it, so the top of the leaf block is a little bit lighter, giving it some more detail. Next up, scaffolding has been reworked, so it's a much darker color now, and it has kind of this darker greeny brown color. And then I did lighten up the top. This is a third or fourth rendition of this one, so I really do like it. And then it kind of sits like this going throughout. Dark prismarine has had a huge change to it. You'll see these little lighter and darker spots throughout it, so we got some darker ones in there, and it has a lot more variation, so it just doesn't feel so flat, especially from a distance away. I really like this one. And the rest of them, brick is recently done. I'm still playing with it a little bit more. I added some variation into it, and I darkened the grout lines throughout here so it doesn't feel so bright from far away. And then I came in and added a few bricks that are lighter oranger like that, and some darker red ones right there. The dark ones do stand out a tad bit, but let me know some feedback on this one after y'all play with it. Then next up we have cracked stone brick, which has overlays on it now, which a lot of people requested. Cobblestone now has variation to it as well, so you're looking at this, you'll see some larger and smaller stones. This one I cannot take credit for myself. Germsy Boy, the amazing texture pack artist behind Little Taste of Germ, built this one in his own world and said I could use it in my own pack as well, so everybody please give a big thank you to him. Then the final one that has been changed is red sandstone. Finally has a sandstone texture instead of it all just being smooth sandstone. So red sandstone has this, and I absolutely love it. Here's a more real world example of that red sandstone back in our city of Papyrus with our old palace build. And a quick reminder, if you want to get your hands on this download now, it will be available over on the Patreon page. Link in the description down below. You got to be at least tier 2 patron over there. I will be getting the public download out for this very soon, probably in the next few weeks, but I want to first add in a few more custom paintings, and there's a few more things I got on my list of stuff I want to be reworking. So bear with me as I finish those ones up. I just want to make sure we get a full list, but if you want your hands on it now, you all know where to go. All I know I want to be using inside of this build is I want to be using a bunch of brick, granite, and terracotta, kind of like what we've been using over in source block, but I want to use it as the base layer. And then I think we have some in here as well. We don't have much at all, but I want to use some quartz on top of that to make it look very grand and luscious and just, I don't know, very cool, grand point of interest on top of our hill. So I think it would be best if I go and gather up some resources here, get everything going, and then we kick this off into time-lapse mode. Welcome to one of the most challenging builds I have done in a very, very long time. Doesn't mean it wasn't a fun one. I had a great time challenging myself here. This entire thing was just a mess. This bank build turned out pretty cool in the end here, but oh my gosh, was it a mess to get together. And you all are gonna see why. This is totally outside of the norm of what I normally do when I'm playing Minecraft. We went for more of a Victorian style build here because I wanted this to feel very grand and very out of place compared to everything else. I wanted this bank to feel like it was really trying to show off its wealth in comparison to the rest of the buildings inside of the city, but I still wanted to make it feel like it was a part of the city. So it was a lot of back and forth figuring out what the heck I can do to make it look like we're part of the city here without standing out too much. So it was an interesting one. Hopefully you guys enjoy this in the end here. I figured a good way to make it stand like to be a part of the city here is absolutely covering it with vines and bushes and things all over the place like we do with all the other buildings. But it's totally different being the brick here. I think it really does get that grand appeal that it has at the end. As y'all can kind of see this one coming in here together, it feels very Victorian. But as I go around and mix up this brick texture, adding in some terracotta and some granite, it does start to clean up a bit more and be a bit more, I guess clean up isn't the right word. It starts to roughen itself up more, and I like it a lot more. But as we were going throughout this, I ran out of a lot of brick, and we have absolutely no brick left to our name in the very end of this one. I think I have maybe a half stack left here, but we were able to get a bunch of stuff filled in. The back walls are rather plain for now. I do want to come back in the end and bring in some windows and bring in some like fireplace chimneys and things like that sticking out the build to make it not so flat on there. But the front of this build and everything else that we have in here actually took me more than an hour to build and probably an hour and a half to come up with a rough design for inside of a creative world to make it fit what we wanted to fit. It was pretty rough to do, but I like it. So coming up into the roof here, we're going to be working with a lot of dark oak and dark prismarine in here because I feel like those are colors that we're commonly using throughout the rest of the city, and they can really fit in here together. So we're bringing in a dark oak trim around this, which we don't normally do, but I felt like it added to that grand aspect that I wanted to go for. And then the rest of it is going to be dark prismarine. And don't worry, we are still going to be bringing up that giant thing inside of the middle and adding a dome roof onto the top of this that allows some air to go through. I think right now it does allow some rain to go through as well, but that's something that we can wrap up later on. Trying to come through here now and define that circular shape again and recreate that going up to the top. I thought it'd be cool to have a bit of a divot and a drop down point in the roof so it's not just all inching up itself for the dark prismarine bit, so you can see that area where it goes up and then comes right back down. And we're going to come back in here in a moment and border that all with some iron bars to make it feel a lot better, and doing the iron bar trick around that outside as well. I wanted to bring in some more quartz in here as well to make it feel a lot more shiny and rich and just fancied up on top. And then this final dome on the very top is going to be all dark oak, just spinning around and making this as circular as I possibly could come up with while we're bringing this all together to finish it off here. And I think it turned out pretty well in the end. I love the look of this from down the street. As you all will see here very shortly, it feels very grand and very much like it belongs at the end of this giant fancy street that's gonna just leading up to the bank. This is the grand bank of this entire city, and I feel like it really has that area around it. Now we just need to make sure that it doesn't look like it's floating. That's up next. And there we have it, folks, our bank. It's very big, it's very grand, and it's very different than everything else we have going on over here, especially the roof style with everything over here is very much peaking up to a point where this one is rather flat with a dome on top of it. But I like it. I'm very happy with the end of this one. I think it's going to do exactly what I wanted it to. This is going to very much look out of place for a good chunk of time because it's just kind of sitting up here all alone and floating for now. So we just trust me on this one. Trust me on this one while we work through it. I do want to detail up the sides and the backs of like this stuff and that and everything going on there. Get some big windows on here. But all of those things I want to do while we're doing the interior. The interior, I want to spend a whole episode doing it to show you all how I like to build up the interiors. And we're actually going to create a storage room underneath the bank area that'll fill up some of this void that we have down here. So I think that'll be pretty good. But I love this one. Hopefully y'all enjoyed that. I think it was really cool. I think it was totally different than anything we've done recently. I will tell y'all what though. I want to get some trees dotted up and down this row. What we're going to be using is just that plain old design that we have for those skinny trees, I call them typically, which I guess I have one right over here. These guys, we're going to be throwing those in dotted along there so it just looks like a very fancied up entrance to the front of the bank. So I'll get all those in and I'll be back with y'all. Here we have what the end result will be of each of these planters, besides adding in some flowers down below. And here's what the general look is going to be. This for some reason really reminds me of like palm trees walking up to like a resort, like a tropical resort or something like that. I don't know why, but I really like it right now. It just looks so funny. Halfway done now, and look at this. There's so much more atmosphere being filled in here simply by just adding some trees. They didn't change too much in here. Granted, you know, it's kind of adding some walls in here so we don't just see the fake, floatiness that we have over here, but overall I like it. I think it's adding a great feeling for this. I love the color contrast that we have between the birch leaves and the acacia leaves, and then the warm tones of the bank itself using all of our brick in there and the dark oak on the top, but it's looking really good so far. And there we have it. The final trees are now in, and this area is feeling very grand. I can't wait to add the houses surrounding this area, getting all those things set up. I also want to see if we can't squeeze in a few like tiny market stalls along the side, but that won't be in today's episode. What we're going to be doing in today's episode, because I figured y'all love trees so much as I do, is that recently over on the live streams, we have actually been building a bunch of trees over there. And I think it's time to show y'all what we've been doing through good old-fashioned time-lapse mode yet again. A lot of you all ask me constantly how to build custom trees inside of Minecraft, so I figured we would dedicate an entire week worth of streams to building custom trees inside of Minecraft. In this one, we're building a lot of custom spruce trees, and we're building a lot of the aspen trees, skinny trees that we were just building in front of the bank. I wanted to come in here and work on the forest a bunch inside of our custom biome, and I had so much fun doing this. Y'all were absolutely amazing. For everybody who came out to the streams and everything, thank you so much for that. It's been so much fun hanging with you all. I've loved doing these live streams since going full time. I'm definitely going to try and keep these as consistent as I possibly can moving forward with all of them. And we're finally chunking away parts of the world that have just lasted for so long that I've not been able to finish. And I just think that's absolutely amazing. I've been having so much fun being able to get all of these projects done, working on them, moving forward with them, and getting a bunch of things like this done. This area that doesn't have trees in it, which now does have a giant forest in it, makes me feel so happy to finally have a large chunk of work done inside of this world here. You can see the general idea that I go for with these is I like to build the spruce trees first because they are so massive. They're about 7-8 blocks wide and kind of a circular pattern for them. And then after that, I come in and basically just fill in that leftover space with these little skinny aspen trees that we have going on here. The aspen trees are using birch leaves with a oak fence below them. And the spruce trees are obviously using spruce wood, spruce fences, and spruce leaves. I know, very surprising on there, spruce all the way along the board. Which, fun fact, if you go into your language settings and you click the lolcats language, it's all the way down at the bottom in the L's, they call spruce leaves spruce salad. And all the leaves are birch salad, oak salad, and so these are our salad trees. These are our spruce salad trees. And I just thought it was so funny. I never knew that was a language in Minecraft. There's apparently a pirate language. There's like 5 different types of English. And they have lolcats, which I just think is so funny. There's so many cool choices there. If you're ever bored in Minecraft, just take a look at those. But anyways, after we finished a bunch of the trees, I wanted to take a break. And for the next part of streaming throughout the week, I want to come back in and make the areas underneath the trees look good. So we added a lot of life and depth into the forest itself by bringing in a bunch of ferns, mixing up the ground texture using a lot of the path blocks, podzol, and coarse dirt scattered around here in some big splots instead of just like random variation and noise using all of them, which basically means you randomly put them around in certain percentages of like weight basically. I wanted to instead use like a blot method so we have big groupings of them and so they're kind of interconnected, and I think it looks a little bit better here. But that was a good way that we did it. We added a bunch of extra depth down there using a few different types of flowers, mostly the azure bluet, and just adding in a bunch of oak leaves and grass and ferns and all that stuff throughout there. I think it turned out really well, but as you can see, bringing in the final few trees throughout this area, it starts to connect up everything, and it really is full inside of that area, and I love it. It's so cool to be able to walk through there. And while we were we're adding in a few last trees here, but while we were doing this, I wanted to bring in a new type of spruce tree as well, which we'll start one here in just a second. And this one is more of a weathered down spruce tree. It's not fully completed. It's kind of on an angle. You can still see the branches in it. You can see the trunk of the tree. You can see a lot of the wood behind the tree itself. And we're building another one off to the right side there as well, which kind of just mixes up the forest itself. So if you ever plan on doing these types of things, don't just use the same exact type of tree everywhere. Hope y'all enjoyed the time lapse of building up a bunch of these trees here, and I love it too much to not walk through one more time before we move on. And while we are in here, one thing I wanted to talk to y'all about is how I want to move forward with this world. I recently had an amazing idea where I want to start incorporating more resource gathering things into the other cities around the world, so we have reasons to go to those places. Like one in Papyrus we'll be touching on here very shortly, but I want to go build an auto sugarcane farm there because it used to have one that has since been broken and I've been living off of the supply of sugarcane that I do have. And I want to correct that because what I want to do inside of our big port city that we were in previously is I want to start building that into the trade hub. And by trade hub, I mean I want to start moving villagers into the city where they can live inside of the city, probably in little boxes. I don't want them wandering around randomly, but I want to be able to have them have all of their trades. So we're going to build a big library there eventually of sorts, and inside of that library, I want to store a lot of librarian villagers that'll have a lot of cool trades and everything like that that we can use as we're going throughout. So we can get mending books, we can get all those books that we need, and I want to move all of the librarian villagers and etc. that we have over into those places. So let's move on with building that sugarcane farm. A long time ago, inside of Papyrus in a city very far away, we built up a sugarcane farm. It was housed inside of this gross looking building that looks very old. We might have to come back one of these days and rework this guy, but coming into here, this is what I had intended to be the sugarcane supply for everything. It didn't fill up past here. Maybe a little bit into there, but as you can see, was not super successful. That being said though, that I think we do need to fix that item filter right there, or that item elevator. We can make it a lot faster with just adding in a bubble column to it and make it a lot better than it currently is. But outside of that, these things don't function all that well. A lot of the ice broke randomly when we updated to snapshots and things like that, and then they just don't work out too well. Basically, what they're looking for is for that sugarcane right there to grow all the way up, which doesn't happen too often, and then it breaks all of those. This was my first attempt at building a redstone farm, so I think what we're going to do is take this all out and add in something more modern. Well, this is a heck of a lot nicer in here with a big ol' empty room. Unfortunately, it does not produce sugarcane at this time, so we're going to be going with the zero-tick farm that Ilmengo came up with. And I think I'm just going to plop that thing right in over here and have it feed right into this hopper line. I think that should be good. That's all set up to go to finish collecting everything there. And I got a mess of this and a few double chests full of junk up there to get rid of. So I did a real crap job detailing down here just to get something in place, and I figured we'd add a few sugarcane blocks behind it. I could probably do a much better job in here, but I figure we're never going to be down here except to do this. And then we just kind of sit here and watch it do that thing and go AFK. So it really doesn't matter too much. And speaking of which, I did AFK for about an hour, and we got a bunch of sugarcane, so we're pretty much set to go there. As you can see in this chest, I cleared everything else out that we had and put one of the inventories back over in the storage room, and we got that much so far, which is pretty awesome. That'll work for me. One thing I did want to talk about real quick before we get out of here is I would love to have some suggestions from you all down in the comments below. You know, that great place for all of them, where I want to hear more of your ideas on what we can do to bring this trade system throughout the world. We have the farming area where we can do carrots, potatoes, wheat, and all that stuff. And they could maybe trade with a future area that's all about animal breeding and herding and all of that stuff. I think might be a good way to do it. This one over here is going to be our sugarcane, and we didn't really have anything else for this city too much. Maybe we add bamboo here as well because it's a similar way of growing it and automating it. Could be easy just to keep them together. But yeah, that's going to have to do it for today's episode. Let me know your ideas on all that, how we can expand that stuff moving forwards. But I appreciate y'all checking out today's video. Please be sure to hit that like button if you did enjoy. Subscribe if you're new, and I will catch you on the flip side.